Three?
Three.
Episode 3 of the Cagando Palo show. And again, guys, you all know the reason is the Palo rods. Da, da, da. So again, I'll explain that here for the next couple of shows so everybody gets it. But so today's show, we're going to talk about a question that I get here a lot. And as I say here, I'm here at the shop, is people come in here and they come with these boats and they you're talking about 60, 70, $80,000 boats nowadays.
Used.
Yeah, used. And they ask, like, why do people buy these expensive boats and get off? Now, again, I've never owned a boat, so I've wade fished since I was young because I had no other choice. It was either fish the bank or walk in for a while and walk a few miles and fish. Now that I do have friends that do have boats and we still wade fish. So I have my reasons. People have other reasons. So today we're going to talk about the reasons on why. So that's the premise of today's show is the why wade fish. What's the benefits from it? Is it a benefit? And so forth. And again, I think one cool thing would be is give us your, because right now I can tell you we're going to be pretty biased on wade fishing. Most of us here fish. If you have a reason,
I hate wade fishing.
No, you don't. If you have a reason on why not to wade fish, put it on the comments and we'll definitely talk to you. So again, first question is going to be, why do we wade fish? What's the benefits out of it? What are your reasons? And obviously we can go ahead and introduce everybody again. We got Sam over here to my right. We got Victor over here to my left, and our special guest today we got Mr. Marco Arispe with Slime Time Charters. He's going to be, if you're in social media, if you're involved with the angling world, you know who this guy is. And so he'll be the first one to answer this question. Marco,
Slime time.
why do we wade fish, man?
Getting started into fishing, once I first got my boat, I started in a 16-foot boat. I also said the same thing, you have a boat, what are you going to do? Why get off?
Yep.
And once I started realizing that all those, bigger names in the industry, Ernest, Wayne, people who, other fishermen look up to in the fishing industry, you see, and they obviously do it for a reason.
Jacob looks up to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Jacob! Tell some charters.
Except Marco.
Huh?
Except Marco.
What? Except Marco?
Look
Oh,
at
yeah.
it.
Look
I'm
at
a little bit
I-
higher than
I-
you. We
I-
actually,
Except a little bit.
Yeah, we
Marco puts extra socks in his weight boots.
and the weight boots. That's a couple inches. So, but get back to the question. So they obviously do it for a reason. They're not just gonna get off their, especially them. They have $100,000 boats, maybe even more expensive than that.
20 plus years fishing.
Exactly, and it's not their first rodeo, so it just goes back to that. I mean, they're getting off for a reason, and there's times. Don't get me wrong. Drift fishing, you can catch fish. There's plenty of guides that just drift fish, and they do pretty damn good.
Dan Guerra is one of them.
Dan, I was about to mention
drifts
his
most
name.
of his.
Dan.
I'm gonna say 95% of his charters are drift.
Yeah, and I mean he's pretty productive doing that. And but I think whenever we're wade fishing, there's times where fish are just kind of in tight little pockets, and when you have a strong wind, but you catch one fish, you net it. By the time you realize it, you're out of that pocket. So
You're talking drifting.
No. I'm talking wade fishing.
Wade
So
fishing.
you hit. Yeah. So drift fishing, you net the fish. By the time you net it, you're out of that pocket. Exactly. So wade fish, you guys kind of hold back, get off the boat. Have everything set up, have your guys spread out good little ways, and you're working that pocket of fish. That's when you realize, you're producing days where you can catch 50, 60, up to 100 redfish on that one wade.
Correct.
And I mean, you guys have done that. I believe we had that one winter trip where we did pretty good.
Where it's cold.
And I'm sure if we would have drifted that, we would have just drifted straight out of that pocket pretty quick.
Now, do you think the boat, the shadow of the boat, and anything like that, do you think that affects anything?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, that's one excuse I've told people, and I kind of told them I do. That's why I think is that shadow of the boat is going to cause the fish to spook.
Yeah, not just that, the noise. People walking
Splashing.
around the boat, splashing, stepping. Actually, I've had a few buddies that just blast music and catch fish doing it too.
Yeah, that's true.
There's just.
I mean,
fish.
if you're like you said, if you're in a pocket and you're on them, you can catch 'em.
Exactly.
For me, wade fishing is more of pace. You fish at your own pace instead of going how the boat is going.
Yeah. I mean,
Or the wind or whatever.
Yeah,
Or the
exactly.
wind, yeah. I mean, just
then there's days where there's no wind. You got to create your own pace because there's no wind. I mean,
Now, you personally, you're saying you're more successful wade fishing?
Yes, and I mean also because I say I'd wade fish 80% of the time.
Yeah.
So
The opportunity.
Yes, exactly. Most of my clientele are people who wade. Summertime, I get a lot of drifting trips.
Yeah.
But I'd say I'm more successful wade fishing just because, we can work fish different ways because I'll get guys spread out. I'll have one guy throwing a top water. I'll have one guy throwing an eighth ounce jig head. I'll have one guy throwing a quarter ounce jig head. And, we'll fluctuate everything and put all that into consideration, Like, perfect example, we had a trip about 2 weeks ago, and I had one client of mine throwing a quarter ounce. We were just rolling into a major. We started catching a pretty good amount of fish, and he hadn't caught anything. And I was using the same lure. I just didn't pay attention to his jig head. And once I realized it, I was like, you know what? I'm throwing an eighth ounce. And I was catching fish after fish.
You're throwing an eighth?
Yes, I was throwing an
I'm
eighth.
surprised you're throwing
exactly.
an eighth.
That's I was like, because we were just rolling into a major. Water was about just under knee deep. Oh, it was that day you and Andy rolled up behind me that I called you that we're on some pretty
quiet, bro. That's another. Okay, bye.
Victor found him that day. It was
well,
The fish found your 3,000. That's what Alex called you that day.
I called him and I told him I told my buddy we were I was throwing the eighth ounce, and I handed him an eighth ounce, and dude, he tied it up his first cast. Boom, just made the world of a difference. And after that, all five of us just one another, and then that just made a huge difference. So back to the drifting and waiting, it would have taken me. I believe it would have taken me a little bit longer to realize, damn, we need to throw an eighth ounce and a quarter ounce. And by the time I would have realized that, maybe we would have missed the pocket of fish, and we still wouldn't have caught anything.
That makes sense.
So I mean, every little thing of that goes into, I guess, consideration.
I think obviously, you're talking as a guide.
Yes.
So you have to obviously find these fish, and you have to determine where the fish are, what they're using, and like you said, spreading these guys apart. You can do that, on a wade fishing, trip against drifting, because everybody's in the same, little area. And then for me, honestly, drift fishing is fun. Yes, it is. But I don't know. There's just something about, wade fishing where you're in the water, you're kind of stalking the fish, you're hunting. What's up?
Going back to what you're saying, like being on the water, we have Adolfo Gomez saying wade fishing is to be in their environment.
Exactly.
Like releasing while you're in their environment is the best feeling ever.
Yeah, no, he's exactly right, man. And you're right. Like I said, just stalking the fish, and I think Victor has said this several times. Like you feel it to avoid sounding corny. Like you feel like you're part of the water now. You're part of the fishing. You're part of the environment.
You feel the pretty much the environment there, and if it's a sandbar or sand pockets, grass flat,
right.
You feel where you can work your lure as well. Let's say you're walking in a grass flat that's knee deep in water, but the grass is at about your shin.
Yeah.
So where your lure has to be, what the fish are kind of doing, and when you're drifting, for me, it takes a little while, to adapt to that. And like you said,
you got to find the niche, man.
Exactly.
You got to find the niche. And in that day what you were talking about, I noticed that y'all were hooking up, but there was another boat drifting very close to the area, and it was, I can say, I saw y'all hooking up, 4-1 versus the guy in the drift. Not that he didn't catch fish, because he was catching, but he was moving a lot faster.
And then not just that, so you're technically just working the length of the boat. So let's say your boat is
20 foot.
20 foot. You're just working the 20 foot of your boat.
Correct.
Maybe obviously they cast a little bit sideways every now and then, but as to waiting, you have guys 10 to 15 yards, sometimes even 20 yards apart, where you're working now about 100-yard span if you have 5 dudes.
Yeah.
So
plus the sides
exactly, and not just that. You're working left, right, center. Doing that kind of cadence.
I know Marco's the guide. I mean, but what are y'all's opinions?
I don't know. For me, I really just enjoy fishing. But the part I enjoy about wade fishing, I just feel like it's just more relaxing to me, and I just feel I don't know, I have more control over it, right? And they're just, I don't know, they're just something like if I want to walk faster, I walk faster. I want to walk slower, I walk slower.
Yeah, your own pace.
And hey, I want to go actually try to walk to the shoreline. I'll get that shoreline walk.
Yep.
Plus, like for me, it doesn't look like it, but I enjoy the exercise, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're walking in knee deep mud or ankle deep mud. Oh, I don't enjoy that so much, but
It could get there. I can get pretty nasty.
Yeah, but I just it's just kind of like the walking, going out, just being outside, and you're catching fish while you're relaxing. Like for me, that's part of it too. Granted, I depending on who I'm with, that's why when I'm fishing with Victor, I want to get off the boat, want to get away from him. And sometimes it's cool hanging out with your friends on the boat, drinking beer, like you were talking about, listening
then get
to
off.
beer.
Yeah, vámonos.
Yeah, so like, no, I was like, hey Victor, can I get off now?
I like fishing with Fabian because I like the way he gets off the boat. Usually he looks like this.
One time.
That's how we
That
did
one
it.
time
One
stuck
time's how
pretty
we
good.
did it.
That's all he talks about. One time.
One should have said caution, wait around water race. Sopa. Say no, you didn't fall. That's the thing is you didn't fall. You came off the boat and you did your hands.
You got off with style.
And then Iran was laughing like a hyena. And that was funny,
I
man.
mean, I'm used to getting off of Marco's boat that stops where it says it's gonna stop. Yours thing was just drifting still. I don't know.
Our boat didn't go down, bro.
You didn't put it down.
That's why you need to pump now.
I need a pump.
But what's up, man?
Is it less work to
No.
weight fish? No, it's more
Not
work.
Not at all.
And that's what I was about to say because Sam was saying about the walking and everything like that. I mean, to me, honestly, catching a stringer of fish on a weight fish, I mean, on a weight trip, you enjoy the grind and you like are proud of the grind that you did because I mean, it's work, guys. I
It's
mean,
just that more special.
you're walking what average? How many miles?
On a
Roughly,
full weight
roughly.
trip, really it's gonna depend on how the productiveness of the day is going. There's
So-
days that we've stayed in one area and
True.
You know,
You've
there's
moved for
days where
100
we have to
yards.
grind where we're walking upward of close to 3 to 4,
4
maybe,
miles.
Yeah.
maybe.
You know,
even
so
more than
so
that.
and you're talking about not just walking on the street, man. You're talking about walking, even though the hardest ground or whatever. I mean, the hard ground. You know, you're still getting these areas where you're sinking in, and you're still having to work to walk. You know, so it's definitely a grind. So to answer the question, now weight fishing is going to be a little more difficult.
It just makes it that much more rewarding. Whenever
Correct.
You catch
That's
fish.
exactly.
you don't gotta worry about the motor when you're weight fishing. You know how you're on the
They say they
trip.
save fuel.
Burning gas.
Save fuel, yeah, you gotta worry about the motor. Hey,
Yeah, I had
get
one
away from
trip
the motor.
where we went first spot. We ended up hitting a pocket of fish to keep us busy pretty much all morning. I think I wasted not even a gallon of fuel. I think I wasted more fuel getting out of the Arroyo than I did.
Now we're not
Running
trying to
around the
piss
bay.
Dan off. We're not talking down on drift fishing whatsoever.
No,
we
like I
said
said,
that Dan does
yeah.
very
There's
well.
Mentioned
days-
Dan is
there-
one of the
Yeah,
captains
there's
that.
days where
Yeah.
Dan has done better than we done.
Oh hell yeah!
Wait,
And there's days that you
He
done
didn't even
better,
get
you
he
know?
didn't even get tired or dirty.
Exactly. We're over here full of mud, boats full of mud, and we have 3 fish in the box, and he has string full of them. And that's where that makes a difference. You know, fish might just be more spread out, and he covers more ground like that.
Correct.
And that's where it makes a difference. It's just what the fish are doing, what the fish tend to do, and where the area. Because there's areas where there will be fish in the area in about a 2-mile span, regards then to a 200 yard span.
Yeah.
So that's where drifting and wade fishing makes a difference. That's why whenever I wade fish, I drive up on my tower and I look for those concentrated pockets of fish, regardless than those fish that are stacked in a 2-mile radius than a 200-yard radius for my clients to have an easier wade.
I'll put it this way: when you drift fishing, you're covering more area going forward.
Yeah.
When you're weight fishing, you're covering more area on the
Going
wider
wide,
spectrum, right? So
exactly.
you can spread out and say, hey, well, the guy in that end is slamming them. We're all going. The
Yeah.
fish obviously are running through that line. So that's one of the big differences. Yeah, Dan can go forward a lot faster than we can, and he can get to maybe fish that are farther
Unless
out.
he's talking about Rudy. Rudy's probably faster than the way.
Yeah, Rudy's probably weight fishing right now.
Man, we were fishing gorditos once. I have no idea how Eddie kept up with him.
Because it was a gorditos. It's Eddie's tournament, bro. Like,
Dude,
you have to
it was
represent, bro.
crazy. So I dropped him off.
Hey,
And
all we know is Eddie was tied to Rudy.
Nah, I would not doubt it.
That was
I
right.
would not doubt it.
Rudy was
I
dragging
mean,
him.
Dude, I lost Rudy one time on a weight trip, bro. It was scary. Like, I couldn't find him. Like, I was screaming, Rudy! All of a sudden, from like some little creek, Rudy going, hey, there's fish over here. I was like, the fuck are you, bro? It's like, damn.
Nah, he's definitely a wade fishing, drift fishing guy. Even
Yeah.
if he wants to or not, he's creating wakes as he's walking.
Yep,
That's
yep,
100%,
yeah.
man.
How do you pace yourself when you're wade fishing?
I'd say more
Fish
on
biting.
that and the area you're working. If you're working potholes, you're working a pothole. So let's say you have a pothole, scattered out. I technically tend to focus on those potholes. But if I'm working a mud flat, like Victor said, how the fish bite. If we're getting hits consistently, slow down. You know, there's no reason to walk fast if you guys are catching fish. And that's where some people don't understand. You know, they think, oh, we're catching fish, you know, move up and we're going to get into more fish. And it technically doesn't work like that. You know, you're in a pocket of fish. Just slow down, you know, slow your pace. Because you can catch a fish at 12 o'clock and there will be a fish at 1 o'clock. And then there will be a fish at 2 o'clock and there will be a fish.
You're talking location?
Yes.
Or time? Okay.
Yes, location.
I gotta make sure.
Yeah, location. So there will be fish in just.
Chief Fabian left and came back at 1. Then left the ranch.
Yeah, I mean, we've had it happen where we catch fish in one pocket. You do the full time span, and then you go back around again, and there will be more fish.
What
there
do you mean?
floating up
What do you
again.
mean time span? I guess. you
So
wanna talk
I
about that.
cast whenever we're just waiting and not we're just finding fish. I do 10, 12, and 2. And then once we start to hit fish, 10, 11, 12, 1, and 2.
10,
And every
11,
now
2,
and then every now and then I do a cast just straight across wind.
Yeah.
If
And
there's
Marco,
like
let
a
me-
pocket or something that I see.
Let me ask you a question. Okay.
Do you like to go when you're weight fishing? Do you like to go more towards an island or go away from the island?
You said it was Iram? No,
Iram.
Next question.
Iram.
No,
let me answer this for Iram. Todo depende, Iram, en lo que estamos haciendo, ¿verdad? Si vamos...
It's a bilingual show.
I mean, it just depends on really what you're doing. I like to wait towards the shoreline.
It to me, I'd say it goes how the wind is going.
Correct.
Because wind blown shorelines I'd say 9 out of 10 times tend to hold some fish.
Okay, so
The
when you say
current.
wind blown, the wind's blowing
The wind's
towards
blowing
the actual
towards.
shoreline.
Yes. So it just depends on the condition. You know, sometimes we have an east wind, and it's going straight west. So we're pushing towards, like, let's say the west bank of Peyton's, or you know, another shoreline. But I would suggest to fish towards one regardless in a way. Because if you burn a shoreline, you know, you don't know what fish you burned off that shoreline, starting out a shoreline and pushing away. So I would say, yeah, I would fish towards a shoreline, fishing towards a shoreline.
Now, does it matter? Does it depend on what you're targeting in regards to a redfish, trout? flounder?
Oh, definitely. So, I mean, redfish love shorelines. I mean, you will find them up and down shorelines a lot of the times, and bigger trout too. You know, I can honestly say I've caught most of my bigger trout close to a shoreline, like very, very close to a shoreline. I'd say anywhere from 10 yards to about 25 yards from the shoreline. So
Yeah.
you're talking under knee deep water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's where
I
we.
always thought they were deeper ones.
So a perfect example. I don't know if you remember that time we took out Fred Rodriguez with the
Yes.
Texas Sportsman.
Yeah.
How close did we catch that trout to the shoreline?
Yeah, you're right. You're actually right.
We
The one
caught
you
that.
took from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say the one
Didn't
with
say
like,
that
look
one.
at- you see that pocket there?
Right there.
Don't throw it there because I
That
am.
was classic, bro. That was classic. And just to, let me tell that
It's
story.
like the Estella.
Yeah, so Marco's messed me up a couple times already. But this one was on TV, and it was pretty embarrassing. But this guy tells me, and the thing is, it was badass because he set it up. He's like, see that pothole over there? I was like, yes, I actually saw it. He's like, there's a big trout in there. I was like, badass. I went like this, and I just heard, zoom.
Well, he didn't tell you.
It was
He
low,
just had to
bro.
cast.
Well, he did. He did.
Oh,
he goes,
okay.
hey, he actually did. He cast right there in that pothole. Like, badass. I went back, and Marco's
Marcos was
Took
talking
some
to
fish
himself.
already
Right,
moving out of
you
the
missed
pothole.
It was already there, and as soon as it hit that pothole, oh my god, it slammed it.
What
And
you
you're
didn't-
talking
Yours
27?
or Marco's?
It was about a 27.
Yeah, not mine.
What you
It
don't
was about
realize is
27 inch.
Marcos wasn't talking to you. He was talking to himself. You see that?
I was rehearsing the plan in my head.
He talks to himself in the third person. Marco cast there.
Actually, I catch myself doing that a lot in the water.
Messing up.
No.
No, it
not-
happens,
not
yeah.
that,
You're like,
but
oh, man,
talking to myself, you know, as far as something I plan on doing, you know, what I plan on doing and stuff like that.
See, but that's the difference in again, someone like me and someone like Marco that's on the water all the time. It's not just time on the water. It's just, I mean, again, some of the stuff he's saying right now is like above my head, and it's just a knowledge that these guys have. And it's not just, you know, because we see them, like I said, if you're on social media with the angling world, you see these guys, and they're catching fish all the time. And again, just the knowledge that they have, not just because of the water.
Sometimes for me.
Yeah, I mean,
Victor's
Victor,
behind me recording me.
Victor's an awesome lizard fish guy, and he's really good at catching those lizard fish. And I'm very happy. I'm very happy with that. Don't get me wrong.
With Victor
But
catching
lizard
lizard,
fish?
or you catching them?
But me catching them.
Okay.
But the knowledge these guys have, man, it's just awesome. And again, I'm seeing the questions and stuff like that. And it's really cool to see that, you know, you're giving this information out to these guys, man. And again, I'm sure you all know Victor's a guide as well. And I know we've let Marco here talk quite a bit, but, you know, I know you put some of your 2 cents in here as well, but
Hey,
Why
he's
do you-
the
why-
guest. He's the guest, bro.
why do you wait?
Why do I wade fish?
Like, why do you
To
wade
go
fish?
see
And
the
I've
For
heard
two-
so many reasons. Why.
For two reasons. Number one, it's my boat too small, so it's hard to drift
Yeah.
on it. Honestly, I'm going to
Makes
say that,
sense.
right?
Yeah.
If I'm chartering somebody, I have an 18-foot little shallow sport. So when you have 3 guys in the boat, it makes it a little bit harder, right? So I want everybody to have a good time. So me personally, why I like to wade is I like to fight the fish in the water. I just think there's a different concept of you feeling in tune with what you're doing in the water, being able to feel the grass, feel the mud, then fight that fish and bring it towards you. I'm gonna say waist level. To me, it's just there's a different experience of being able to hold the fish and wrap around you and walk it that way instead of going around the boat on it. That's really the reason why I enjoy weight fishing, and I can fish at my own pace on it. I'm gonna ask you a question, Marco. What do you dislike the most about weight fishing?
Dislike about wade fishing.
If you dislike something, there's one thing I dislike about it.
There's off the top of my head, I can't really think
No?
of something.
For me, it's when I take a group of guys and there's always that one guy who takes up in front of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Actually,
like,
I
man,
didn't
it's
come to
like
my head.
it's like,
What do you mean he takes off in front
well,
of
you
everybody?
you can see Rudy. You get see Rudy's smart though. Rudy usually does. He goes to the
Off
end
to the side,
and he'll go
yes,
to the
yes,
side,
yes.
right? But sometimes you have a group of guys and you have one guy who gets off in the middle, and you kind of want to line up all your weight guys, 3, 4, whatever you have, and y'all want to kind of go on almost the same pace so that somebody's not spooking fish in front of you. But sometimes you have that one guy who
He's just so
Anxious, wants
I
to get
tend
there.
exactly. They're anxious, and there's times where you just can't blame them. They don't fish as much as we do.
Yeah.
Well, that was
They don't they don't fish 5 days out of the week like we do. They fish once a month.
yeah.
So they are
They're anxious. They're
exactly,
excited.
they're excited. They want to go.
Was it that they're anxious or they don't know any better to do it, right? I mean, I think
I've had a couple instances where I don't want to sound mean to my client. I try to be informative to them, but they
Yeah.
just they're a little stubborn headed, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
They to where they don't catch on, and then they realize the guys behind me are catching a lot more fish, and I'm way ahead of these guys, and I haven't caught anything.
If the guy next to you is catching, to me, it's always going to be rule of thumb is slow down. There's obviously fish in that area. Slow down. Now, once we're not catching more, okay, let's move
Exactly.
together.
I'd say just keep. I personally, one of my favorite views when I get out there is when we get off the boat and I have a full line of guys. It's just like a straight line. You look
Yeah.
at one guy, you can't see the other guy.
Yeah.
That's personally one of my favorite views where we're all keeping our the same pace as each other.
when you guys do like pay to wade, do you communicate that to your
Yes,
guests?
yes,
That,
I-
okay, we're going
yeah.
to try to stay
Yeah,
right
exactly,
here to get in
I-
this
I
line.
tell-
and this is
I-
what we're trying to do.
As soon as I get off, I was, you know what, guys, let's have a good 10 to 15 yards, and if we see more fish being concentrated to the left side of the boat, the right side of the boat, that's where we kind of start shifting ourselves, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
It's a team sport, man.
Yeah,
exactly.
and-
It really is,
Yeah.
and I have guys that do pay to wades that have never waded before, and they've booked me now 5 to 6 times, and seeing them improve as an angler is, it makes the guide feel good because you're helping them improve.
Yeah.
So that's
And-
personally one
And
of
the
my
rate is improvement's a lot faster when you go
Exactly.
with someone.
and,
right
and then
there.
when you listen to when you take constructive
That's right.
criticism.
Yeah.
That's,
Hey, you get over here.
yeah, exactly. You
What
don't
did-
want
what
to.
did
You
Dan say?
don't want to.
No, Dan just put drift fishing. Hashtag.
Yeah, hey, that's Dan's thing, and like we said, he does damn good at it. There's times, and I'm like, damn you, Dan, because he goes at us. I have a chat with Dan, and he's like, drift fishing all day, every day, and there's times, and I'm like, man, screw you, Dan. But then he'll go and slam the reds, and that's just
But
everything
sometimes
works.
you want to drift fish, man. There's days that I want to go fishing,
100%.
and I don't want to get wet. I don't want to go and take waders. I don't want to take my shoes off.
I'm bad, bro.
And there's days where I just don't want to do that. I mean, I just want to relax.
You want to go to the mall or what?
Sometimes I want to go to the mall.
Get a
It's
manicure,
okay.
get a pedicure.
In this
you know,
generation,
maybe.
it's okay.
No, you cannot go to the mall. The Central Mall or the Plaza Mall?
Somebody said here, I don't know how Marco sees the fish, but it's amazing.
See, that's who I was referring to.
It's
Luis.
true, man. And again,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
and you taught me how to see the fish. That one trip that we had, we were chasing herds.
They're
and
called polarized glasses, guys.
The first herd that
Well,
we
let's talk
saw,
about
Mark
that.
was like, "Let's go over there." And like, why?
Let's.
What's over
That
there?
was DHR, right?
Yes.
Yes. I
and
remember.
so then once he showed me, like he didn't say like this.
Oh, that's when he left us behind to go to take you out to slam fish.
Yeah,
and he
that's
left us,
He went
he
to
left
his
us in
spot.
like a waist deep mud.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I left you to catch flounder. It's not my fault.
You didn't catch it.
We didn't catch the damn
Flounder
flounder.
were
We didn't
there.
catch a flounder. You didn't catch a
My
flounder?
buddy
No,
wa-
I'll be
my-
right back.
My buddy was I'd say 50 yards from you, and he caught the winning flounder for that tournament.
Yeah, but there was a whole different location. Even if it was 50 yards, it was a whole different thing.
It was connected to pretty much the intercoastal,
Victor,
so it was not that
It's
far.
constructive criticism.
Yeah, we
No,
No,
just
they were
talked
using
about
live
this.
shrimp. They were using live shrimp. They were throwing live shrimp on the court. I mean, on the thing. That's different. That's a whole different thing. You know, one thing I did notice is last time I went fishing with Captain Smiley from the 212.
212.
Smiley. And one
Call
thing,
me.
as soon as we got off the boat, he let people know. Spread over to the side. Do not get in front of the boat. That's something I picked up because there's times when I'm like, somebody gets off and they get in front of the boat, and
And
then
you
you're
get
messing with the
distracted.
power pole
Yeah.
because you're trying to not hit them. So he did that. As soon as we got off the boat, that's the first thing he said. Just do not get in front of the boat because I don't want the boat to hit you.
I learned that rule the hard way.
Who hit you?
Jacob boat hit me.
I
Right
think
in the back
Jacob's
of the
hit a
head.
couple of people
He
already.
He
did it
hit,
on
he hit
purpose.
Joaquin. That,
He hit
that-
Joaquin.
Not back of the head.
He hit
Oh.
you. I think he hit it.
Hashtag don't
Scary.
wade fishing from
I
Jacob's
thought it was,
boat.
I don't know what the hell it was.
Or any boat. Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what?
you know that's a. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
And that is a good point. You know, there's times where, or even you pick up your power pole and you're reeling and you hook a fish. By the time you realize it, you know the winds are strong and the boat is 10 yards from you. Like, hey, watch out for the boat.
Or it's
you
on
know?
Yeah.
Fabian's head. Or
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Or Joaquin's.
And just to, kind of, and Marco's one of those guys that, again, Mark and Victor, I'm not, both of them are very, very good fishermen. So as a new wade fisherman, or even as an experienced wade fisherman, if you get outfished by these guys, it's not the wade fishing. It's not anything. I've literally taken Marco out of his line and said, the hell with you, get out. I'm going to fish your line because he's catching fish after fish, and I still don't catch fish after fish. So because you all mentioned lines, and you mentioned, where there may be a line of fish, and it's true. There may be a line of fish, but you still got to know what you're doing.
Yes.
You know, to catch
Cadence
those.
and confidence in what you're doing is a big key factor.
And again, both of these guys are very, very informative, and they're teachers of the game. So take those lessons if you ever go out with these guys, and Jacob, J.R. Martinez, all those guys, man, they're good teachers of it. So just take those lessons to heart because they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And again, I've learned a lot from these guys. This guy's 20 years younger than I am, and
30.
but you're gonna see those things. You're gonna learn those lessons from these guys, man.
Yeah, it's important to look at what somebody else is doing that's catching fish, right? One time I had one guy, Jose, he was with me, and I was working my regular, pop up, and he was swiping, and he was catching a lot more fish. So guess what I did?
Yeah.
I started
Swipe.
swiping. I was like, hey, man, that's what fish are taking, and that's what I'm going to do. And we all started catching fish. So it's informative to telling each other, hey, guys, one thing that we do, and Marco does it too. I mean, I wade fish with them. Somebody using a certain color.
Yeah.
Hey, what did you
Colors,
catching on?
yeah.
Purple haze. So all of a sudden, you see all of us bring out that purple haze or a dark color.
Can you
or
mention another
something.
color because that's all we're selling here at the shop?
Purple
Can you
haze,
mention another
purple.
color, please, 'cause we
Hey,
can sell
honestly,
more.
that color has been pretty
It's been doing really
Yes,
good.
I know. I get about 3 people a day come in. You have purple haze. Got it today, guys.
Hey, Albert, this guy needs some more purple
Oh, we
haze.
got
bro.
it today.
He needs more already.
It needs more already.
Purple haze has been really, really good, man.
They just said
See?
Marco.
Tell
Not
him
to lie.
Yeah. Where did they put my name? Book a trip.
The weight fishing, what is it? Weight fishing, you're closer to the ground, making it better to bring the fish versus behind higher up. That makes a lot more sense. And again, the cool thing with weight fishing is, and just fishing in general, there's days where I don't want to take a net and things of that sort. And when you're weight fishing, it's a lot easier to land a fish with a fish grip and things of that sort because they're right there. You don't really necessarily need a net. Even with a net,
We
Sam,
do recommend
it
a
doesn't
net.
matter.
Yeah,
If-
I need a net.
If
yeah.
you're new to
I'm-
weight
I'm-
fishing, I do recommend a net. Sam needs a net and a net
no matter
man.
what. Yeah, I need a
Yeah.
net for my net.
He hires 2 spots, one for him and one for his net man.
That's right, yeah.
So, and they still lose the damn fish.
That's right.
Yeah, every time I
Well,
see
I
Sam
mean-
hook up, I'm like, oh my
That's
God, you see
conservation.
the-
So I don't know. Like whenever I started wade fishing, I use a shorter rod, right? Because I got short arms, and it's hard for me to land that fish with a longer rod, and it just becomes so much further. I'm trying to do this little dance,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Whatever. And so
I got a video.
yeah, I know you got plenty of them. I've done it plenty of times, and I'm sure I'll do it again next time we go as well too.
But if you are new to fishing, I would recommend a net. I'm new to weight fishing. I do recommend a net. It is helpful. It is helpful.
Oh, yeah,
There's times
absolutely.
that I don't get out with a net.
Actually, like I've gone out with guys that have like their wade fishing net, which is a big ass net. Like
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
not
the
it's
big
not-
gray one.
Yeah, the big gray one. It's not like I've got the green
Yeah.
forever last ones, but there's a big ass net.
Jacob
that-
fits in that net.
Jacob fits in the small nets.
That's right.
Don't make fun of Jacob, bro.
So I guess now that we're talking
Only
about
I
the,
can make fun of Jacob.
equipment and talking about things, what is something that you think is essential like, for a beginning wade fisherman? What do you think is essential? Again, I'm talking about and not rod and reel. Of course, we need that. But
Wade
other than
boots.
No, I
rod
think-
and reel.
Well,
what is
I
essential?
think
For me, it'd be wade
rod.
boots.
Oh, okay.
You don't need a
Wade
wade boot.
No, you need a reel.
Just fucking reel it on the boat.
What the challenge?
Let's both each
So
other.
what else do you need other than a rod and reel? Like, what's essential for these guys?
You know,
Wade built.
Wade
oh
Belt.
my God, I'm talking to Marco.
He's. I pressed the button first.
So there's it also depends where you're fishing, where you plan on fishing. So wading boots, obviously, you don't need wading boots because I started off wading with tennis shoes.
I've seen you get off in your neoprene socks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a point where I'm that anxious to get in the water, and I know we're not fishing any structure, anywhere with like oysters and stuff like that in the water. To where I'm just gonna get it off my socks. I'm anxious.
Irama's watching the show and he's calling me just to try to answer the phone. I got you. Ahorita te hablo, güey.
Yeah, and so wading boots, your fishing net. I like to take guys who are prepared. So your wading box, you have your lures. When people ask me, what colors you're hitting today, it's not technically what colors you're hitting today. What's your confidence bait? Have confidence in what you're going to throw. Don't just throw something
Purple
because
haze.
a guide tells you
Purple
I'm gonna
haze.
throw something. Whether whatever lure it is, there's guys
Triple G.
who who like other brands of lures. And I
Manscaped
am
Magic.
I'm not the type of guy to force a brand on you. I throw AM lures. That's my preference. But there's guys who I've taken on my boat that have done good with JRZ, Down South, and Kelly's.
Yeah.
And that's just their confidence bait. And there's guys where
I had one guy tear it up with top water. That's all he threw was top water.
Yeah, and I have this one good client of mine. His name's Ruben. He just all Kelly's.
Cisneros?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all Kelly's. That's all he throws, and he's done pretty dang good. And there's times where a paddle tail.
I took him with me one time. I made him use AM. No, you're using AM. Purple, and I put purple haze. Purple haze. That's it.
Yeah, no. So that day we caught fish, he was with us, and he wasn't getting as much hits. And I was like, here we're using purple and chartreuse. That's a color scheme and he switched. I don't know if it was the Kelly or Down South, but he switched to that color scheme of the lure, and that that boosted his confidence.
Yeah.
Into believing in the bait and throwing it with more confidence, and therefore he was rewarded with a few fish. So I say
Jacob just sent me a text that said I look really cute on a long sleeve. Jacob.
No, you're not.
We say hi to him.
Yeah,
My
but
bad. My bad. Still you're train of thought.
yeah, it's wading boots, your wading belt, your fishing net. Your
Let's keep this PG. What do you need on a wade fishing trip?
What do you need on a wade fishing
Yeah,
trip?
what do you need? Like, what do you need?
I-
What do you need?
What do I need?
Mhm.
Or what I would recommend for you?
No,
to
no. What do
bring?
you need? Because
I-
if you're using it, then we can recommend.
For me, most important is having a good pair of wade boots, whether it's Bart's, whether it's Magellan's, whether it's Sims, whatever you want to use.
Now, you're talking about boots that protect you or boots that are easy to walk on?
Easy to walk on. Now, if you want easy to walk in protection, I'm gonna recommend Bart's. I've gotten hit by Stingray with the Bart's on and didn't penetrate. So they do work. They're a little bit on the high side. All right now I've been using some Magellan Pros that are $60. They're really comfortable. They're doing good. That's what I would recommend more. I used to wade. When I first started, I used to wade in tennis shoes.
yeah, exactly.
Right, like, that's
People
what I
all
had.
start
That's
somewhere.
where I
They don't all
started.
start with $200 boots, which is what you ask someone what to use. Oh, use Bart's. That's
yeah, they look at them, they're like,
price
expensive,
range.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the Magellan boots that are, I believe, like $30.
Yeah, there's some $30
See, but
ones.
at the same time, man, yes, and I always tell everybody the same thing. Bart's are going to be the first thing I would recommend. But I would feel horrible if I recommend Magellan to them, and
They
they're
get
a
hit.
great brand. They work, they're comfortable, but they get hit.
Yeah.
Like,
You
to
know,
me,
you gotta
the
learn to
protection
suffer.
is very
You gotta learn to
important.
suffer your feet.
And
Yeah.
not just that, the wade fishing comes with some of those consequences,
Risk.
and risks. There you go, risks is
Correct.
a better word.
Sharks.
I fell in a damn pothole. I was wade fishing with Albert, and we were by the pipeline.
No fishing spots.
Dude, I literally went into a hole, and it was
Show
cold,
me a
and I
map.
was like,
Show me
"Holy
on a
shit."
map.
The pipeline, no, the pipeline over there, South Bay. Como dice
Okay,
Hector
there we go.
Rendo. South
There
Bay.
we
That
go.
was awesome.
I know that area.
Yeah. So I would recommend a pair, but I did start in tennis shoes. I'm not gonna lie, I did. And then as I started getting more into it, then I went ahead and upgraded until I got to the bars. That's the number one thing that I would say. And me personally, I don't think a good weight belt helps you out. I'm not one that says, let me take a bunch of stuff with me.
Yeah.
I've seen guys with 2-3 boxes, and it's like the more you have on you, the more complicated it
Yeah,
can get.
I mean, I usually now just get off with my rod and reel and my bogus.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't get off. You know, there's times where I take my time and, you know, put my belt and my box and everything. But now for myself, I have the little box of AM lures, little box,
little tiny one?
stuff it in my waders. I put my bogas on the grip, on the holder, and then I get off with my rod and reel. That's it. You know, I'm not, you know, oh, I need this. Just,
Where do you put your fish?
I mean, my fish,
Just bucket.
I usually don't stream.
Okay.
You know, so there's, you know, I get a lot of, sometimes people are like, dude, you keep too much fish. I don't keep fish. I take people when they want to keep fish, and I'm not going to tell them no.
Yeah.
You know, because you can go to my house right now. I have one bag of fish in my house. That's for my family to eat. That's it. I don't.
But when you do keep fish, you eat it pretty right away because I've seen you.
Yes,
fish
most
that
of my
day
fish, I tend to, you know, I call my father-in-law or my dad, and hey, let's make a fish fry tonight. You know, we got some fresh fish. But I myself don't, you know, hey, dude, let's go, and I'm gonna keep all this fish. I don't, but I have most of the clients I take go once every 3 or 4 months, and
they want to keep fish.
Yes, and they go to keep fish to have a fish fry for the family, whether it is, you know, the Super Bowl or football games or baseball games or stuff like that. You know, they want to have a fish fry for their family, but I don't keep fish for myself unless I know, you know what, I'm gonna make it within these next 2 or 3 days.
Yep.
And
I don't like frozen fish. Once it's I
it
don't like
definitely
freezing
is.
fish.
What sucks sometimes is that you have clients that want to keep fish, and then you get to the fillet table, and then they're like, "Oh, I don't want the fish." And you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and you know that upsets me
at the
sometimes
beginning, so we
because
gotta
I've had it
remove the fish.
happen on quite a few charters. You know, they're like, "Yeah, you know what? Let's box them," and they're like, "You know what, man? I only want 2 fish."
2 fish.
I was like, you know, you could have been more clear about that, and all these fish could have still been swimming. You know, that's a point where I've gotten after clients when they tell me that, like, you know, it was to one point where we kept a good box of fish, and the clients were like, dude, I just need like 4. And we had like 12 redfish in the box. So I was like, I mean, what am I
That's
gonna
the
do?
day I saw you filleting, and I left.
You didn't even say hi.
No, yeah,
like,
so
I'm
I was pretty upset that day. I was like, you know, what do you expect me to do with these? These fish are all dead. I'm not gonna take them. I have fish for myself already. I don't need fish. So, you know,
And at that point,
And
it's
there
like
I
you're
am, you
obligated
know.
to take them. Like,
someone
Yeah.
has to take it.
exactly. And then there I was like, they're like, well, we don't want them. I was like, dude, that really got me upset. So there I am. I was pretty ticked off, waiting at the ramp. You know, for those people that fish off the bank, hey, you guys want a couple fish?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it felt good giving it to them because, you know, sometimes they don't catch fish off the bank.
I thought you
or
were gonna
stuff
tell them
like
you
that.
want some fish, book a trip.
Yeah.
Look at all these.
Yeah.
This could've
They're
been
over
you.
there.
This could have been you.
They're over there in
So
South
I
Bay.
gave them a few fish, and well, they left pretty happy. You know, I was like, you know what? At least these fish didn't go
Yeah.
to waste.
I started asking when I have a charter, I started asking them, bro, like in the boat before we start fishing it, y'all planning on keeping fish or y'all planning on not keeping fish?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So
Sounds
I
like
can
you need
know.
to ask a third question or another question is how much fish you
Yeah,
want to keep.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because that day we
Because
just
we're not gonna catch it.
No, that's like if you're
I
planning on
need-
keeping fish, so you can go with Marco. So I'm gonna go look at something myself.
Well, you just go to the dock afterwards. Marcus is gonna have
He's
some
like,
extra fish.
If you notice, every time you ask me what do you need, I never say a stringer.
Oh,
You don't
that's,
need
what
a
I was,
stringer.
that's what I was asking if you guys.
I don't
keep a
even- you know,
stringer or a bag.
Talking
or-
about stringers, I use that fish tote from Everlast. I like using that
Yeah,
bag.
but you're not supposed to put every fish you catch in there.
What if they grow-
the
What is
lizard
it, girl?
fish,
You know,
lizard,
but you know
lizard
why I
fish
like
need a
it?
home too, man.
Not
I like it.
catfish, not all that stuff. You know?
I like it because we like if you do go and you catch a nice trout and you want to take a
Yeah,
picture,
yeah,
and you put it on a
that makes
stringer,
sense.
dude, they tend to die.
Oh yeah, if
Put
you
'em in
put
the
a
bag.
trout on a stringer,
He'll
they
survive.
will die 9 times out of 10.
I went on a winter trip with Victor one time, and we were fishing like chin deep water, and I was putting my fish in the waders.
They were still alive.
I
They
don't
were
know why.
swimming in
This guy
there.
knows I'm 5'7", and we're fishing 6 feet of water. I'm like, what are we doing here, Victor?
Remember that one time
What's going here?
Remember that one time that you charged me for stuff? That's why.
When is that?
You know what? Don't talk to me.
This guy comes in and out of the shop without even knowing. But
So good belt. What you
A
said?
good belt. Yeah, good belt. I recently, and I'm gonna say for me, it was an upgrade. I upgraded from easy weight to the Bay Devil belt. I do like that one a whole lot more.
because it has your name.
No, not just that.
You know, but those
Then
are
why?
on the pricier end of the.
Well, not anymore, man. Because the Bay Devil that I got, it ran me 175. The easy weight is
See, but
150.
those are still pricey.
That's a
but
lot.
it-
That's a lot of money.
Well, compared to easy weight, it's 150.
Yeah.
Right? You can get a
because
so
there's
I'll-
the Forever Last that are $40 at the cabinet.
correct. There is right, but the Forever Last, you put your rod in, and your rod's always in your way. It leans. It's on the way.
But
you
most
can't
people
hold
that
it.
are starting off have their one rod with them.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
You
But
get what I'm
but you know what? I mean, I think it is still important to have. And that's one thing I miss, or I'm missing. I like just taking the bag. That's it. I'll take
Yeah,
the bag
yeah.
and the net. But I am missing that rod holder not to carry
To
another
hold
rod,
your
to
rod
hold it while
whenever
you're
you're
unhooking
messing
the
with the
fish.
fish.
But okay, Marcos, but let's talk this right. So
Get mad. It's all right.
depends on right. No, and what I mean, yes, the belts do get expensive.
Yes,
If
definitely.
you are going to start weight fishing, to me, it's better just to invest into it.
But you
At
got
the
you got to
beginning.
ease into it.
Then if you don't
talked
like it,
about-
I'll buy it off of you.
Yeah.
talked-
See,
you
that's
talked
what
about-
probably what the point
yeah,
he was getting to.
you got
Because,
$200
you know,
boots.
yeah,
you got
yeah.
$150 for a belt.
Have you?
got your
I
rod, your
haven't
rib.
met somebody who went weight fishing and did not want to weight fish anymore. That's just I haven't met somebody who
Oh,
has.
I have.
Yeah.
I have.
Uh,
you know, I've had guys where,
You have?
during the
Yes,
wave.
yes,
They
I
say,
have.
"Nah, we're not
They're
doing this
like-
anymore."
and then I've had the opposite. You know, guys that were drift fishing, and I was like, dude, we do pretty good if we got off here. They get off, and they're like, damn, I do not want to get
It's
back
a
on the boat.
workout, bro. It's not
I
for
mean,
everybody.
look at Joe Pettis.
Yeah.
Dude, this dude went. I think the first time he went was with Caleb, and he's hooked on
Yeah,
weight
but
fishing.
look at Joe Pettis, a guy like a freaking Iron Man, dude. Like, I mean, these guys are fit people who like it. You know, I've gone fishing with people who are a little heavier set and they don't want to go back again. You know, that's just, again, everybody's
You like
different.
going back?
like 20 pounds heavier than you.
With the weight belt or without weight belt?
This guy has one good point, and I'm going back to the Barts. The Bart gives me a confidence in the water, one less to worry about. One less thing to worry about is stingrays, and it's true, and that's a big reason I
Hell
wear them. I'm not afraid to say I'm scared shitless.
I wear them
of
to cut the
that.
grass, dude.
You wear them for other things probably too. You're
Take a
not-
shower with them.
You tantarons.
not a normal guy then. But I think this is a very good point is that yes, you do get a lot of confidence, wearing something that's protective.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them and I've seen them and I see them like, oh, right there, like I'm about to step on them, and I think like, okay, hopefully it helps. And I know you've gotten hit. I think Smiley's even gotten hit.
Yeah, because you're not thinking about it. You're not thinking about when you have the Barts on me. I'm not thinking about the stingrays anymore.
exactly.
Yeah.
When
you
I'm
know.
using when
You're
I'm using
shuffling your feet.
my Magellan ones, like
Yep.
I'm still kind of like shit, man.
You know, I have people that are just they to the point where they're just thinking about the stingray, that they're staying so far behind the
Yeah.
pack. You
missing
know?
hook sets.
They- you know, they're
your mind's
just
not
like-
in it.
Oh shit! I think I felt something. Something like that. And
Oh, I felt something too.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
sucks.
yeah.
That's a
It
scary
sucks.
feeling. It's a
You hit- you-
scary feeling.
Have you all hit a stingray?
I've never
I've
even
never
hit
gotten
it.
hit.
No,
I've
I
hit a
have.
stingray.
I've stepped on one.
Yes, exactly, but I didn't get hit.
No.
I've
It's
gotten
scary,
stung
man.
by them. Yeah, I've gotten
Yeah.
stung by a stingray.
It was scary when it happened to me. Like for real, like I felt like my blood just
Yeah, yeah,
rushed
yeah.
down. I was like, man, what's going on?
And
And
you're gonna
for
say you turn white.
he does. He
Well,
looked,
that's
you know?
his hand
When
turned
it
right.
hit me.
That's the first
And,
time and the second time.
I got hit and I knew I had gotten hit and I just kind of like stopped for a little
It's
bit.
a weird sound.
I just stopped, dude, and I was just like, oof.
Yeah, your heart skips a beat.
And
You
I
just get that
literally
heat
was like
flash running through your
trying
body.
to catch
Yeah.
my breath, and I walked back to the boat, took the boot off, and once I saw that I didn't have any blood, okay, I was good to go. But
What do you do when you see them when you're out wade fishing and you see them swimming by you?
I try to
I
hook
just
them?
slap my rod. Just it's
Tap
kinda-
'em.
Ah, so that how?
No, I don't do it to where
I
I
should
just,
show.
I just tap it and they kind of turn the other way. That's just.
You guys even fish, and I think this is more towards Fabian's side.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
guys even
First of all,
fish?
who's the one asking?
Randy Villarreal.
I don't know.
The answer is
yeah.
definitely no.
I mean, honestly, since we opened this, I think 4 years ago, going on 4 years ago, it's hard. It's hard to get out and fish. I mean, Victor and this guy invite me almost on the daily, and it's like, do you want to go? Do you want to go? Do you want to go? Do I want to go? Definitely. Can I go? No. Do we know how to fish? I would like to think so. We've gone out there. We've done all right.
I think Randy is just being. I
I'm
think he's
sure.
asking more like, do you guys even fish? Like,
But I'm gonna answer
4
it
hours in
very,
the water.
very politically correct. No, we hardly do. You know, and that's it. I mean, it's not that I don't want to, man. It's just it's hard to get out there.
Yeah. No, I mean, when I was working my other schedule, I had 2 boats. I was on the water a lot, right? I was fly fishing. Some days I'd go offshore. I'd be out wade fishing. I'd spend, I was off 14 days or 28 days.
You went from 2 boats to no boats.
I know, right?
Yeah, I just
And so-
realized
So
you
sorry.
got rid of your skiff. Not too
Yeah,
long
I
ago.
got rid of both. But when I had both of those boats, I mean, I was off 14 days, and half of those days I was on the water, right? That was before I really started selling, rods at another level. And yeah, it's like Fabian says, it's like, man, I work during the week. On the weekends, I'm usually here, and it's just tough, right? And so right now we're talking about trying to go fishing again, and we're talking about like end of March, and it's like, geez, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pull that off, right? We got a lot of things going on. It's like, okay, well, maybe,
Shows,
yeah,
all this stuff coming
it's
up.
just a lot of things
Yeah, I mean,
going
we
on.
got the
So,
Houston Fishing Show coming up, and we got things here in the shop. I mean, we're working tomorrow. We're here on Saturday, and then the other thing also, I mean, shit, like on my end, like one day I do get off on Sunday. It's
that's
like,
right.
I want to be home.
Yeah.
I want to be home with the family, and my kids are doing sports and all this different stuff. So it's hard to get out there, but yeah, and I know we're joking around here in the question, man. But yeah, I mean, we do try and go out there, and we do have, and the beauty of people, I mean, come in the shop and ask me questions about fishing, and the beauty is that, do I have knowledge of fishing? Yes, I can confidently say I have a lot of knowledge of fishing right here and right here. And that's the beauty of having these guys, Jacob, Andy Salinas, Dunks, all these guys at our disposal, where if I do call these guys up, they're going to tell me exactly what's going on and what to do and how to do it. And I just have so much knowledge at our disposal, that we can talk to these guys at any given time, and they're going to give you that knowledge. Best time to wade fish. I'll give it to you.
Now.
Guys, give it to Victor first.
No.
Best time to wake fish?
No.
I like
No.
wade fishing in the mornings. I really do enjoy.
well,
Well, what does best mean? I guess.
Like and time
More
as far as
productive.
time of year or
Time of year-
morning, afternoon.
Man, I'm biased. I like fishing all year round.
No, so I'd say this time of year is prime time for wade fishing. As far as
February,
catching
March,
the fish
April?
you want, late winter, early spring. That's when people tend to catch the fish they're targeting, I guess you can say. Right now, as people know, it is, the big trout time.
Yeah.
But when you say late winter, are you talking about cold? Or are you talking just of the months and the time?
Both cold and the
Yeah, they
time.
go
The
hand
time,
in hand.
'cause right now is when they host that Saltwater Legends. They host it now for a reason. That's when
Makes
people
sense.
tend to catch those bigger fish.
You think it's got anything to do with the tide being so low right now? That
Definitely,
They might
you know,
say, hey, these
yeah,
fish are stacking.
Yeah,
and
definitely. And then
more
right now,
popular.
fish, I guess you can say, are more predictable. I tell this to a lot of people that are just getting into fishing, just buying boats. People ask me, where do you fish during the winter? I like to fish in muddy areas during the winter. The fish kind of holds a little more warmth from, and it eliminates a lot of areas whenever you're fishing for them. Most of the east side is hard ground, so now you're sticking to Cullen, rattlesnake.
No rattlesnake. There's no fish in rattlesnake.
Cullen, rattlesnake, and Peyton's. Now you're sticking to those areas that are more muddy. Now, you got to go through those areas, obviously, to find where the fish are. And you can find fish a lot easier because when they're in those muddy areas and you're driving around, you see those mud spurts. So they're easier to locate, more predictable, and I guess just more susceptible to eating, I guess you can say. A pre-front bite is pretty big. That you can catch a lot of fish being there at the right time. And even post-front, that's when they go and they bed in those muddy areas when it's really cold. Perfect example, like that time we went in the winter. We went to where it was muddy. The water was a little bit deeper. And what did we do? We staged in about a 200-yard line, and we just caught the crap out of fish.
Yeah.
Now,
Really,
let me ask you
really
this.
slow
Yeah,
and with like
exactly.
a quarter ounce. Like,
Now,
yeah.
I mean,
You
Mate
think
was letting me know.
If it wasn't
Who's
that
that?
cold, would we have been as successful?
That it just depends the time. Where are the fish? What are the fish doing? And also full moon.
There's-
Moon has a lot to do with it.
Full moon, water movement, pressure, all that. I mean,
Exactly.
there's many guys that look into all that.
They go into all the
Pressure,
science of
water,
it. I'm not.
Dan's talking about that. Right
Yeah,
now. Actually,
me,
that's pretty
I just go. I'm not gonna say I don't look at
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
right? But I don't let that determine if I'm.
Oh,
going
yeah,
or not.
obviously,
it might determine where you're going or what time you're
You show
going,
it.
but I'm still
Show
gonna
it and leave it
go.
up.
Now, one thing, one guy asked, and it was a pretty good question, is how long do you give an area before?
I'm a guy that sits there. I'm a guy that'll stick it out.
But what's making you sit there and not move?
Seeing the fish.
That
Be-
let's see
being
what he was gonna put.
being there, seeing the fish. So I'm driving on the tower, looking at looking
Gotcha.
at. I see fish. I will give them. Let's say you have a miner coming in about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and you stop at that area that you see the fish, and they're not biting it. I've had it to where the miner starts at the exact time it says it's gonna start, and you will just start. The
Yeah.
fish just 1 second to the other just start eating.
And to for the people who are watching and are, I mean, I'm getting some pretty cool comments, great info and stuff like that. But where do you go to actually look for minor, major?
So
info?
I use fishing points. It's an app. It's free. It won't tell you have to pay if you want to look for days advance. For the majors and the minors. But I tend to go off the day before I'm gonna fish.
Okay.
So pretty much the day I'm looking at is the time I'll see the minor, and I kind of compare. What if usually it's about pretty much gonna be doing the same thing. It might fluctuate an hour or two before or after. And that's kind of where I'll set my plan up. I want to go to this area. I've been seeing some fish there, and I want to set up there at a certain time. And let's say the minor or the major starts at 11. I will go fish a couple different areas. Maybe some other areas are holding fish that are eating. And I've had it happen to where I go to a different area, and the fish just happen to be hungry before that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
know,
that's the one. Well, that's the one thing I look at. I know I don't look into pressure and
What
all
do
that.
you use? Like what apps? Or
I use I think it's called Now Tide. Like that. That's what I use. But that one you do have to pay for it. It is you have to pay. It gives you a lot of info. But that's the one thing that I do look at when I'm fishing is when is the fish supposed to be biting, and I want to make sure that I'm not driving around during that time. If it starts at 10, I want to be at a certain spot that I say, well, we're gonna fish this area at 10 because that's where we're supposed to be.
That day that I called you when we were out there, I hit this pod of fish. There was a lot of fish in that area. A lot of bait. Bait was active. Fish were there. They just weren't eating it. We fished it for 5 minutes, and I was like, you know what, guys? Let's ease out of this. Let's go fish somewhere else. We'll come. I actually put all of my morning based on the major, and I was like, dude, if we don't catch anything, we're gonna strike out, or we're gonna go home big. And luckily, we ended up going. We did pretty dang good, and we based it off that. I went and set up at that area about 30 minutes before. I let the guys, I was like, you know what, take your time, get off the boat, start fishing a little bit, but don't walk. That's the first thing I told them. Just don't just stay put. Cast your rod, cast your reel. And then as soon as the major was about to kick on, I tell my buddy, I get off the boat, and I'm like, watch, dude, it's just going to kick on. Because we were there. I mean, like I said, we fished it for 5 minutes. It was to the point where if we fished for 5 minutes, we were going to catch something. That's how many fish were in the area. So we get off, and I was like, dude, it's about to kick on. And you started seeing the mullet started being a little more happy, jumping around. Mud boils, fish popping, you just started seeing more activity in the water.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I get off, boom, my second cast, I catch like a 24-inch trout. And then one of the other guys catches a rat red, and then it was just nonstop from there, one, another, and I was like, damn, it actually, that move, that plan paid off.
That
And
day
the
I
guy-
drove all the way from Cullens
From South Bay.
to get to where you had called me at.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you were right. It was right at that time where the major was supposed to start. And I was in an area, but when you called me, I was like, I looked at the guys and I was like, I mean, we gotta take the
The
drive.
whisper is calling
Dude,
you.
I
yeah.
was hammered down on that little 115.
Yeah, we just heard
I was like, man, 40 minutes later.
Yeah,
But,
but
we
we
got
got a
there.
good one, man. Is what do you look for before you head out? Like at the ramp, like is there anything you look for? Wind, tides, birds, bait.
Definitely, wind plays a big factor.
I look at water depth. I always gauge water depth based on the ramp.
100%. Because you want to go, you might want to have fish the West Paytons.
And
And if the water's low, it's pretty low
pretty
chances
low.
you're gonna
put a TRP.
you're gonna need a TRP to get out of there pretty much. A TRP or towboat.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Manpower.
Shout out to George Trader.
Man, when I went out with Smiley did that TRP, it's crazy.
Game
It's just
changer,
like
yeah.
boom,
Just you
Suzuki's coming
spit.
out with a TRP now.
off road.
Yeah.
Or lower than 300.
Lower than 300.
Oh, nice.
From 115 all the way to 200.
150.
Yes.
Oh, Good to tell me because I was trying to upgrade motor. Now I might have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, they're coming up
I
with
can
this.
just get the lower unit.
They're coming up with this pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I was talking to with one of the dudes from Ron Hoover. I took him out fishing, and that Suzuki's planning to come out with that here pretty soon.
Yeah, it's crazy how that TRP makes do the
Oh, yeah.
difference.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
and
when I
then
was
now
riding,
they're
it was just-
making those props, the whole shot performance props, where they're kind of like putting two props together to resemble a TRP.
that McKinney props.
Chuck McKinney, Chuck McKinney
Yeah.
makes those props, or he started making them, but they kind of like to the point where you just assemble them together and they lock with a
Really?
pin.
Oh.
So they will your actual regular lower unit will spin those two props. I mean, obviously it has its kinks, and it might mess up your engine if you do something a little
Overload
bit.
it, yeah.
Exactly. But it will give you that better whole shot.
But yeah, I look at the water on the ramp. That's gonna determine
Where you can go.
where I'm gonna
Definitely.
go,
Or you
where,
can't
where
go.
I'm not gonna go.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
So it's
right.
like I know I want to get to Cullens to the backside, but I'm gonna have to cut through a little shallow area, and it's like
gonna make it.
not today. It ain't gonna.
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah,
have to
yeah.
go around it. So that's one thing I look.
And we'll start over here, and I think one of the last things we'll talk about is what's one story that kind of always comes up to you, of weight fishing, one weight fishing story, whether it's funny or memorable or whatever. Like, what's one thing that you remember all the time?
It's going to be, honestly, for me, one of my best ones is that I had fun in and experienced it was when I did the Shallow Sport tournament in a pay to wait.
Just because you placed.
Well, not just because we played. No, not that one. So the other one, the one that was a pay to wait, because it was just three anglers that really didn't know each other, fishing a tournament, and just being able to see them, for them to see 200 and some boats on a takeoff. That's the day I did get hit by the stingray, so that's the only thing I was like, man. But
it was still your best day.
correct,
So
it was
it was
just
your best
for
and your
somebody
worst
else
day
to
at the same
experience
time.
what I'm experiencing, to me, made it worth the trip. Somebody who at one point said, I've never fished a tournament, I want to go. And you go to, one of the biggest ones there is, and see their expression of like, man, this thing is huge. Like, it's a big tournament. That, and then when we are driving, and I have a small boat, and I'm like, look, keep an eye out so nobody hits us from behind. And it's like, dude, we're the last boat. And it's like, damn, man, boy. But that's one of the things that I like the most, was taking people out and just having them for our first time go out on a tournament and seeing something cool.
Yeah, I think before these guys, obviously I fished a lot alone.
Oh, and when Fabian fell down, that was my favorite.
We weren't weight fishing.
Yeah, we were. I have a video.
He just jumped off the boat.
GoPro, turn on.
He wanted to go for a swim. It was hot.
I remember it all the time because my wife had just gotten me some waders, and it was on my birthday. I think it was a Sunday. It was on my birthday, and I told her I'm going to go fishing. And man, I wake up before these guys, do anyway. So I took off. I went to go try out these waders, and I literally, and I'm a faith person, I literally said, God, I catch one fish and I'm leaving. And it was a 23-inch flounder.
Oh, I remember that day.
I caught it.
It was your birthday, no?
Yeah, it was my birthday. I caught it.
You went on your own?
I went on my own to Mansfield. I go to North Mansfield all the time whenever I go on my own. And I literally walked in. You're talking past that fence, 20 yards. It was like the second cast.
Did you pass the fence in the water side
you
or in
can't-
the
you
land
can't
side?
It was on the water side, sir.
okay.
I wasn't
The
on
secret
King
spot.
Ranch.
The secret spot.
I was about to call.
So I caught that 23-inch flounder. I literally gave it to somebody that was there, and I went home. And I can't forget that trip. That was probably one of the most memorable for me.
I mean,
And shortest.
And shortest, exactly.
memorable. I wouldn't say it was the best, but memorable when we don't catch anything. That's the most memorable for me because it's the reality of it. That I would say.
So you haven't had any of those then?
No. It's to the point where clients see that, oh, these guys just catch a bunch of fish, but it's the reality of it. When we go and we grind all day through the sun, through the cold, and we don't get rewarded with anything. Because I've had trips where we zero, and it's the reality of it. But I'd say that's the memorable part of it, where clients, obviously, clients aren't the happiest by it, but it's to the point where they realize, you know what, man, it is what it is. That's we. I can honestly say this: they cannot complain about my effort for not putting effort into
Lack of effort.
Yeah.
Because
For sure, man. I've seen it.
if there's one thing I do, I will do everything that is possible to try and put my clients on fish. And I'm not a big guy on, you know what, bro, the trip ends at 12. we're out of the water by 12.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not, because there's times where we don't catch fish till 12:15.
Yeah.
And I've had it happen, and I will give them extra time because you know what, we worked all morning long, and we're finally coming on a good bite. Why cut it off? You just ruined all that patience and work they put in.
That grind that he's been doing.
Exactly, all
The
that.
reward's finally coming.
Exactly, they're getting rewarded for the patience and work they put in, and I'd say that's probably the most memorable for me. And I can count them on the top of my. I still remember the days where we went and didn't catch a damn thing. Like it sucked. You look back and you're like, you question yourself about being a guide. It's to that point where you're like, damn man, today
man.
really,
You
really.
question yourself a lot, Vic?
Even when I'm not
About
guiding.
everything.
Yeah, no, you question yourself like, damn man, this is the reality of it. Like, but to me it kind of feeds me, I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna go tomorrow and I'm gonna try twice as hard.
How old are you, bro? You're like a poet. Goddamn, man.
Yeah.
He's 21. He talks like he's 50.
Yeah, no, I mean,
It's badass, man.
Back in my young days.
It's just the knowledge of it. I really appreciate the
That's
sport.
badass,
It's just
It's obvious. It
yeah,
shows.
yeah, definitely.
You, Sam?
Sam?
One of my favorite things one of the things I really enjoy about wade fishing is when you go these mornings and there's no wind and you can just go see redfish tailing and moving around. And that's really why I get, when the wind's not blowing, or even if it's blowing a little bit, hey, where's that protected shoreline? I really get a kick out of going out there and having to walk and see those fish up on the shoreline, and you're just sight casting at them. And so my story's around something like that. It wasn't the first time, but it was a time I've seen them at a lot of redfish. We were actually fishing BDS. I was fishing it with Roy and Ruben Bettis right for an R&R. And, so we had been grinding around. We had gone around Mansfield, different areas looking for trout. We head south toward rattlesnake, I guess. Rattlesnake. But there's no fish at rattlesnake. So yeah, that's right. We went to South Bay. And, and we were in like some really shallow water, and
Yep.
Ruben has a TRP, right? And so we were getting in areas like, man, I hope
We can get out of
we
this.
hope we can get out of this, right? And he's up on top, and he sees, okay, there's one there, one there, one there, one there, and he's then all of a sudden, like, he just like slows, he slams, boom, like we come up, we're like, damn, he's like, there's fish everywhere here. And so like, no, there's not, like, he's up on top, right? He can see everything, and we're like, no. And so we get off and we walk, and we were catching some dinks along the way, and essentially we come up, and like there was 4 of us, and I don't know if we had those fish corralled. But like every cast, we were pulling out redfish. Like all 4 of us were.
Yep.
And we're seeing them, and they're in there, and it was I never caught so many redfish, and just like on every cast, and like in just a short period of time, and I don't know, like it was a tournament too, right? So you're just like, see, you gotta have this like, and you're in these Calcuttas too, right? So that you kind of
The outliers.
like, yeah, it's like, do you stay here try to catch the Calcutta, or we know our trout probably wasn't going to do very well. And or do you try to get, they even had like Calcuttas for the fish with the most spots on there, right? And so we keep doing that. But anyways, we were there for like 30 minutes of nonstop redfish
We turned in
action
Victor for
every
one time
guest.
for Dargo only one.
He didn't have enough spots.
We turned in Victor one time for Dargo only one.
For the most spots? I know, dude. I showed up.
I was there holding Victor. And he's like,
He was down by 1. They're like, Victor, take off your pants. So he's got 2 on there that kept it.
All I did was make that noise. That's all I did.
But that was definitely my most memorable time, and honestly, that's why I really just like.
yeah,
like seeing-
we've had a lot of those days where we just catch a lot of fish, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say mine is because we've had a lot of days, and Victor, Fabian, and I'm sure you guys are, where we catch a lot of fish, but I'd say the most for myself is when we don't catch a damn thing.
Badass, man. Marco, I appreciate you coming down.
Definitely,
I know you live
definitely.
pretty far from here, man. And, thanks for coming down. And again, it's knowledge that these guys are giving us, both Marco.
Hey, how about
and,
we give out a shirt,
these
man?
guys. Okay, so that's a good idea, Victor, since it's not yours.
And look what we said. How about we give up?
Yeah, that's awesome. All
give out
right.
a
You know
shirt.
what, man? And honestly, I'm just going to do this because this guy asked a lot of questions, was pretty involved, and I think this is a good way to do it. And I don't know if Sam, you agree.
I think so.
Adolfo Gomez, man. I think this guy would stay the whole time, and he asked a lot of really good questions, gave a lot of his own, information. I appreciate that, man. So
Maybe this
Yeah.
one.
His choice.
yeah, exactly. We have about 4 shirts back here that Victor's modeling. and he probably has that he hasn't paid for. So choose one of them, man, and on the comments, just put which one you want, and I'll reach out to you and kind of get your address if you're not from here. If you're from here, hey, come by the shop, man. Come take a look at it, and you know, I would really feel like an ass right now if I know who you are, but I'm not. I hadn't seen a picture. I don't know. Adolfo Gabas Jr.
Y'all come to the shop, man. Say hi to me. My hand will be here.
Yeah, you don't want to touch that hand.
Not anymore.
But hey, thank you so much to our sponsors, Modelo. Appreciate you guys. They went and stocked our fridge here this past week. What's that? Tomorrow's hours are 10 to 2, man. We'll be here 10 to 2 tomorrow. Might be a little later. I doubt it, though. It's Saturday, man. We want to get home. But 10 to 2. I might be here a little earlier, depending on how many more of these we have tonight. But, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Again, thanks to our sponsor, Modelo. Of course, our STX, 7-Day Addiction, Palo Rods, Salty River Lodge. You guys, I mean, I really appreciate y'all's help. Thank you guys so much for everything. And, again, thank you all for tuning in. I think we had quite a bit of viewers all the whole time. Guys, y'all have any questions or any topics you guys want to talk about the next one? We'll be here in the next couple of weeks. We'll be in Houston March 1st through the 5th, I believe. If y'all are out there in the area, man, reach out.
Just want to say, guys, we're talking about weight fishing, right? If you do want to go do some weight fishing, both me and Marcos do offer the pay-to-weights. There you can. The good thing about a pay-to-weight, it's on your own, right? You don't have to have a group of people, so you can pick your own spots. We can go out weight fishing. With I run a charter called Manchas Fishing Adventures because of my beautiful manchas in my hands. That these guys and the guys I hang out with gave me the nickname Manchas, and I went with it.
I had another name, but
and then we got Marcos over here.
Slime Time Fishing Charters. You can find me on Facebook or on Instagram as well. And you know, yeah, just you guys, even if you have any questions, feel free to ask
hit
away.
us up, man.
Awesome, man. No, I appreciate y'all being here. And again, appreciate y'all tuning in. Guys, next time we will be here, like I said, in the next couple of weeks. Tight lines and safe waters. We'll see y'all next time.
Laters. There's guys.